Okay, so you're about to release a new music video, congrats. But before you hit that upload button and just cross your fingers, we're going to map out some seriously smart strategies
Yeah.
to make sure it actually gets seen. You know what I mean? We don't want it to disappear into the internet void. We
Yeah,
want
Sheila.
people to see this thing.
It's about so much more than just views.
Yeah.
I mean, a well-planned release can introduce you to a whole new audience. It can build excitement for your next album
Well,
or a tour even.
yeah, for sure.
Really help define you as an artist you know.
Totally. I'm with you there. And that's where this article we found comes in. It's called 9 Music Video Release Strategy Ideas, Increase Views, Revenue, and Fans.
Oh, yeah.
It's packed with advice. And in this deep dive, we're going to figure out what really matters
Right.
for you, the listener,
What I found so interesting about this article is the emphasis on strategy.
Yeah.
Like they said, it's not just a nice to have, it's essential.
Oh, for sure.
Like they gave this example about using your bio to generate buzz. Just something as simple as changing it to slow dancing in the dark. OU SEP 12 can plant those seeds of curiosity. It's so smart.
I love that. It's so low effort, high impact.
Exactly.
And speaking of impact, this article really got me thinking about the power of the algorithm,
Oh, yeah?
especially on YouTube.
Early momentum on YouTube is everything.
It is.
It's like a snowball effect. Those
Mm.
first few hours and days are crucial. Each new view triggers the algorithm to suggest your video to even more people, creating a ripple effect. More views, more recommendations, and so on.
Okay, so we need a plan.
Yeah.
We can't just wing it and hope for the best. So let's talk release schedule.
Okay.
This is where things get interesting because we need to think about how this video fits into your overall release strategy, right?
Absolutely. Are you using this video to hype a single before an album drops? Or is it more of a post-release celebration?
Right.
Maybe even weave in some tour dates. It all comes down to your goals and where you are in your musical journey.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But even if you don't have a full album coming out, you still want to create that sense of excitement, right? The article mentioned Beyonce and how she can pretty much drop a video out of nowhere,
Oh, yeah.
break the internet.
Yeah.
But for most artists, it's all about building anticipation.
Yeah. Making it an event.
Making it an event.
Exactly.
And even without that Beyonce level clout, you can still generate serious buzz.
Oh, absolutely.
Teasers, behind the scenes snippets,
Yes.
sharing your inspiration for the video.
Yeah.
All powerful tools.
All of those things.
Speaking of teasing, the article had this hilarious section called Don't Be Kanye,
Uh-huh.
basically warning against unrealistic timelines.
Yeah, delays are inevitable, but setting those realistic expectations from the start will help prevent you from disappointing your fans. Give yourself some buffer time for edits, revisions, things like that.
That's solid advice. Okay, so we've talked about the video itself, but what about the content around the video? This is where we can really get creative and engage the fans, right?
It's a whole ecosystem of content, behind-the-scenes photos, teaser clips, even just sharing your inspiration for the video. All of these contribute to that sense of anticipation and give fans a glimpse into your creative process.
But like the article said, it's a delicate balance. You want to pique their interests
Right.
without giving the whole story away.
Yep.
Now, something that I found super intriguing was their emphasis on data-driven decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Using platforms like Spotify to figure out which song is already performing well with our audience.
This is where it gets really strategic because instead of just guessing, we can use data to choose a song that we know people are connecting with. For instance, if you're seeing a particular song racking up saves and playlist ads on Spotify, that's a really strong indicator that it has potential for a successful video.
Right.
It's like peeking into the minds of your fans and understanding what resonates with them.
So we're not just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
We're being smart about it. Okay, this next idea might not be for everyone, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on partnering up.
Okay.
The article suggested that releasing your video on a partner channel like a label or a third party
Right.
could significantly expand your reach.
It's a trade-off. Partnering up could potentially get you in front of a much larger audience,
Sure.
but you might not see as much growth on your own channel in the long run.
So it's a strategic decision, something to weigh carefully. It's not just about immediate views.
Right.
It's about building that sustainable presence online.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between short-term gains and long-term growth.
Okay, I want to switch gears a bit and talk about the director. The article made a compelling argument that a unique director can be a huge differentiator. Like they specifically called out Kendrick Lamar's Humble and Lil Tecca's Ransom
Oh, yeah.
as examples of videos that were elevated by strong visuals.
A great director can bring your vision to life, in a way you never imagined.
Hmm.
And it doesn't always have to be a big budget, big name director.
Mm.
Sometimes it's about finding that perfect collaborator, someone who gets your style and is just as passionate about the project as you are.
That creative synergy is so important. Now, before we move on, I'd love to hear from you, the listener. What's resonating with you so far? What feels most relevant to your situation? Take a second to think about it. What stands out to you?
We'll be right back with even more strategies to get those views skyrocketing. Don't go anywhere.
All right, we're back and ready to dive into even more strategies to make your music video a smash hit. Are you ready for this?
Absolutely. We've got some more game-changing tips to unpack.
Okay, this next one kind of threw me for a loop. Lyric videos. I kind of thought those were a thing of the past.
I know what you mean, but hear me out. Lyric videos can still be a really effective way to build momentum, especially because they're relatively inexpensive to produce.
So it's like a low risk, high reward kind of thing.
Exactly. They're a great way to start building that hype early on in the release cycle. Plus, think about the visual possibilities. If you establish a strong visual theme in your lyric video, you can carry it over to the official music video for a cohesive look and feel.
That's a really smart way to tie everything together. It's all about creating a world around your music, right?
Precisely.
Hmm.
It helps create a sense of consistency for your fans.
Hmm.
Now let's talk about PR. How do we turn this release into a full-blown event?
Let's get those headlines right.
It's all about getting the word out there strategically. Think about targeting music blogs and journalists who cover your specific genre. For instance, if you're an indie pop artist, you wouldn't reach out to a heavy metal magazine, would you?
Makes sense. It's about finding the right audience for your music.
Exactly. And the article even mentioned reaching out to music journalists directly through social media. It's a more personal approach than just sending out a generic press release.
I like that. It shows you've done your research and you're genuinely interested in connecting with them.
And don't underestimate the power of those early views. If you can generate a good amount of buzz in those first few days, it can make a huge difference in attracting the attention of the press.
It's all about creating that momentum, right?
Think of it as social proof. When journalists see that your video is already getting a lot of views, they're more likely to check it out and potentially feature it. It's like a stamp of approval from the online community.
I see what you mean. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, this is already taking off. You don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here, but before we move on, let's zoom out for a second and talk about the big picture. What does this all mean for you, the listener, as you're gearing up to release your own music video? What are the key takeaways here?
The biggest takeaway is that your music video is an incredible opportunity. You've poured your heart and soul into this creative work, and now it's time to make sure the world sees it. All of these strategies we've talked about are tools to help you achieve that goal.
I love that. It's not just about releasing a video. It's about maximizing its impact and connecting with as many people as possible.
It's about taking control of your release and setting yourself up for success. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought, something to ponder as we head into the last part of our deep dive.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. Lay it on us.
What's one unconventional way you could build hype for your video? Something totally unique to your style, your audience, your brand. Something that will make people go, wow, I've never seen that before.
That's such a good challenge. It's about thinking outside the box and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. What works for one artist might not work for another.
It's all about finding your own unique approach. Now, before we jump into some real-world examples and personal anecdotes, let's take a quick breather and gather our thoughts. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive, so don't go anywhere. All right, we're back for the final part of our music video release strategy deep dive. We've talked about a lot of different tactics, but, I think it really helps to see how this all plays out in the real world.
I agree. Theory is great. But sometimes you need those real-life stories to see how it all comes together.
Totally. Do you have any, war stories from your experience working with artists?
Oh, I have plenty. I remember working with this incredibly talented indie band a few years back. They were about to release their first music video, and they were so excited.
Yeah.
But they're also completely overwhelmed. They had no idea where to start.
I can imagine. There's so many moving parts.
Exactly. So we sat down and talked through a lot of the strategies we've discussed today.
Okay.
We talked about their goals, their target audience, their budget. And you know what? They decided to go all in on building hype through social media.
Interesting. What did that look like for them?
They got super creative. They created these really clever behind-the-scenes videos, little snippets of the recording process, even a time lapse of the video shoot, just giving fans a sneak peek into their world. And it totally worked.
It's all about creating that connection with the audience, right? making them feel like they're a part of the journey.
Exactly. By the time the video dropped, their fans were buzzing with anticipation. And you know what? It didn't stop there. A few music blogs picked up the video, and that led to even more views. They ended up exceeding all their goals for the release.
That's amazing. It's proof that a well-executed strategy can really pay off.
Absolutely. And there's another key ingredient in their success that I want to highlight. Their director, they didn't have a massive budget, but they found this up-and-coming director who had a really unique visual style. And they just clicked. The collaboration was magical.
It's amazing how the right director can elevate a video to a whole other level. It becomes more than just a visual accompaniment to the music.
Yeah.
It becomes a piece of art in itself.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of collaboration, I think that's something we should all keep in mind. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, connect with other artists and creatives in your community. You never know what incredible partnerships might emerge.
I love that. It's all about building a supportive community and learning from each other. Now, before we wrap up, I want to share a quick story of my own. A few years ago, I was working on a music video for a friend, and we hit a wall during the editing process.
Oh, yeah?
The pacing felt off, the transitions were clunky, we just couldn't seem to get it right.
I know that feeling. Editing can make or break a video.
Totally. But we ended up showing a rough cut to a few trusted friends, people whose opinions we really valued. And their feedback was invaluable. They pointed out things we hadn't even noticed and gave us the confidence to go back and make some major changes.
It's so important to get that outside perspective. Sometimes you're just too close to the project to see it clearly.
Exactly. And the final video was so much stronger because of their input. So my takeaway from that experience is don't be afraid to ask for feedback. Find people you trust and get their honest opinions. You might be surprised at what you learn.
Great advice. All right, I think it's time for our final takeaway. We've covered a lot of ground today, but if there's one thing you remember from this deep dive, it's this. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. Every artist is unique. Every music video is different.
What works for Beyoncé might not work for an indie artist just starting out.
Right, exactly. It's about finding the strategies that resonate with you, that align with your goals and your artistic vision. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things. See what sticks.
The music industry is constantly evolving, so it's all about staying curious, staying adaptable, and most importantly, staying true to yourself.
Well said. So go out there and create. Make those music videos and share your art with the world.
And remember, we're always here if you need a little guidance along the way. Until next time, keep diving deep.